After playing the deck for some time, I noticed some interesting ideas and plays you can make with the deck. Now, if you've already been doing a lot of playtesting with the deck, most of these are probably gonna be familiar to you. But if you have not just got started or planning to pick up the deck, these are some things you might want to keep in mind while playing the deck. Alright, so let's get started with some basics. And this is a question I get asked from people that are just starting to play the deck, and also the number one reason how you find out that your opponent might not have an idea how your deck works. And is that the Ritual Beast monster, and this includes Winda, and this is also the case for Lara. Notice this is an OCG copy, but the names are the same. They're both called Spiritual Beast Tamers, Winda and Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara. What this means is that this is considered a Spiritual Beast, and it's also considered, you see what Spiritual has Ritual in the start, a Ritual Beast Tamer, so they count as both. And what this allows you to do is that when you have cards like ulti-cannahawk, you will notice that ulti-cannahawk requires one Ritual Beast Tamer and one Spiritual Beast monster. So when you're fusing into ulti-cannahawk, two Laras can go ahead and make the fusion, because one of them will be serving the purpose of the Spiritual Beast, and the other one will be serving as the Ritual Beast Tamer. So, right, the other thing I want to mention, and this is something that is for all Ritual Beast cards, is that the Ritual Beast monsters, if we can see here towards the end of the card, you notice a restriction that allows them to be a special summon only once per turn, has this little s at the end of the name. What that means is you can special summon more than one copy of the same Ritual Beast monster at the same time. So when you have something in your field, like ulti-cannahawk, you have to banish Laras. We can go ahead and put it in the extra deck to special summon both them when we are defusing. So just another thing to keep in mind. Alright, so another basic tip here to keep in mind is when you have monsters on the field, in this case a Ritual Beast Tamer and a Spiritual Beast monster, and you want to contact fuse, we are able to contact fuse with face down monsters. The reason behind that is that when you're gonna contact fuse and you have a monster like Ritual Beast ulti-cannahawk, you will notice the first line there that specifies how you summon this monster. Mention that must be a special summon from the extra deck by banishing the above cards you control. So controlling the cards can be face up or face down, so that's the reason why we're able to do that. And this becomes important when we're talking about cards that interact putting monsters face down. So for example, if our opponent has an Nibiru, and we are able to have a card in hand like a Book of Eclipse, what we can do is that when our opponent Nib, we can Book of Eclipse our monsters, the Nibiru effect happens, the rest of the monsters go to graveyard, and then we're still able to contact fuse with the two monsters that are face down. Alright, so we're going to a little bit of a more advanced tip here, and this involves how the effect of Spiritual Beast Tamer Lara to protect work. And this effect, and you notice I have on my printer a rare version of the card, but as you go to the tier line here, you will notice if a Ritual Beast card will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from the graveyard instead. And that wording, if you're familiar with Runic, the Hugan, it's basically the same style of protection effect. What this means is that, let's say our opponent has Lightning Storms, and they activate the Lightning Storm, and we have Lara in the graveyard, we can banish her to protect our monsters. No, there's no issues on that. But something you have to keep in mind is that this protection effect, replacement effect, or a protection effect like this one to say instead, are useful only if this card is not gonna also be destroyed. So something that you could try, and you will notice you cannot get away with, is that let's say our opponent activates Lightning Storm, and you try to defuse to summon these monsters, you cannot protect with Lara here. The reason behind it is because Lara is gonna also be destroyed, so that's something to keep in mind. Now the other thing I want to mention about Lara effect is that since she's a replacement effect, let's say your opponent is going to activate a different effect that's going to destroy one of your monsters. And it could be like a Promethean Princess effect targeting your Ultinoshi, no? And you have a set Emergency Teleport. You can chain Emergency Teleport, and Emergency Teleport will summon the Lara from the deck, and then you can go ahead and use Lara effect. And remember, this is a replacement, so it doesn't activate, so that's something to keep in mind too. So as long as Lara is in a position where she can protect in resolution, she will be able to protect the monsters. And just remember the small caveat that she's gonna also be destroyed. She cannot protect the other monsters that, from destruction. Alright, so the next scenario we want to cover here is when we have Kimur Falco on the field and we want to make sure our Spiritual Beast Lara effect goes through. This our opponent could have something like an Appaloosa, or they could have something like an Ash Blossom in hand. And one thing we can do is that you can use Kimur Falco effect and banish our Spiritual Beast Lara. Remember, Lara has the effect that when she's banished, she has a trigger effect to special summon something from her deck, no? So we banish her as cost for Ultimate Falcon to summon a monster that has a trigger effect. And it could be any of these three. It could be the OG Lara, it could be Sephra or it could be Gwen. So let's say we summon Sephra, and then Sephra has the effect when she's normal summon. So now we have a trigger effect and we have a trigger effect, and we're able to arrange the chain in any way we want. So we can make this chain in 1, and we can make Sephra chain in 2, and that way the opponent cannot interact with the chain in 1 with something like an Ash Blossom. This is very important when you're playing the deck because the effect of Spiritual Beast Lara is very hard to interact with, since you're banishing the monster, and there is few monsters that interact with the banish zone in a way that something like negate a monster that is banished effects, for example. So make the effect very hard, if not impossible, to interrupt if you chain things this way. So Sephra resolve, special summon something, and then Lara resolve and special from the deck. Alright, so next let's talk about how the monsters are summoned into the field when you are using Ultinoshi, Ulti-Kimufalco, and Lara. Ultinoshi is able to return to the extra deck to summon a monster that is banished into the field that have not, but this monster is not able to attack directly. Something to keep in mind. Now, different from that, the restriction is actually different for Ulti-Kimufalco. Ulti-Kimufalco return to the extra deck, and this is the same for ulti-cannahawk, for example, to special summon Winda and Apelio here. Now, these monsters are in defense position, but they are able to attack. This is important because if you have cards like Inheritance, you can use Inheritance effect, since two monsters were summoned at the same time, to switch one of them to attack position, and this monster is able to attack. This can allow you to ramp up a lot of damage really fast. Since let's say we do that play, we put the Kimufalco back into the extra decks, and we happen to have this Lara in the graveyard. Then we can go ahead and summon them both back. We can put the Apelio in the attack, or we can even put the Wind in attack and crash her to summon an Ulti-Guy Apelio, another monster. And we can use Apelio effect to banish the Lara and summon another monster from the deck. And remember, when Lara summoning monsters, they have no restrictions about attacking. So it's something to keep in mind. Alright, next situation here, we have Apelio in attack position and we have a Lara in the graveyard. Now something interesting here is that Apelio is able to go to the battle phase and is able to attack. And remember, Apelio effect is a quick effect that modifies attack and defense. So it's able to be an effect you can activate in damage calculation. No? An Apelio effect can banish Lara. What this means is that in a new chain, Lara will be able to activate her effect, and you'll be able to summon from the deck during the battle phase. And this is something very important if you're trying to play around cards, you know. If your opponent has something like a TTT, or it has any monsters that can only be activated in the main phase, you're able to special summon from your deck using Lara effect during the battle phase. So it's something to keep in mind. Alright, I said the best trick for last, and this is something if you're familiar with the deck and you used to play back in the day, so that we used to do a lot with Torrential Tribute. And it's that the effect to defuse a ritual-based fusion is a quick effect that, as a cost, in activation, banish the monster. And this is important. By the way, this is the same situation for Ulti-Kimufalco defusing, Ulti-Noshi defusing, and Ulti-Cannahawk, or if you're playing Petelfin or Ulti-Apelio. Those two also have the same condition. So when the monster is banished, you do your targeting. And this leads to very interesting situations, because something you can do here, let's say your opponent is, I don't know, at the end of the battle phase, for example, you can activate the Faithful Ray, if you have these two monsters in the field, let's say, to target Lara, you can change the effect of the Cannahawk to target a parry on Lara, and then you have no cards on the field. This is important because some cards have restrictions and you cannot control any face-up card on the field or cannot control any card on the field. So at the end of the battle phase, you will be able to activate a card like Evenly Matched from your hand. And then Evenly will resolve, your opponent will be keeping only one card, because Evenly is the only card on the field at the moment. The chain will resolve backwards, and or ulti-cannahawk will summon 2 monsters, and ulti-ray will just whip, because the target is not there anymore. So just something to keep in mind, and this is very important also for 2 more cards, at least in the current competitive sphere. This is something you can also do with Infinite Impermanence. One thing that I do is that if I'm able to do full combo, I often will keep the Impermanence in hand, just in case my opponent tries to break my board and they go far enough that they're able to remove most of my threats. And Impermanence from hand is always a big surprise. And the other card you can do this is with Nibiru. So if your opponent is going to the end of the main phase and you control a fusion, you can activate the fusion effect to go back to the extra deck and then summon Nib. And the summon Nib will happen, and then the monsters will come back to your side of the field. Just some things to keep in mind. A little of a shorter video today, and actually planning to upload probably 1 or 2 more of these sort of like a scripted learning the deck type of videos between now and the release of the new support. And in the meantime, I will also have scattered videos about playtesting and also analyzing playtesting in the channel. So if you want to keep an eye out for those videos, I would really appreciate you subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoy this video, you find these tips, these technical plays informative, I would really appreciate you like this video. Now I'm going to be focusing way more on my Twitch channel over the next month and a half, and that will be at twitch.tv/8yo channel, as I need practice with the deck and I need to do a lot of playtesting for it. Apart from that, you can know when I'm going live, and I need to get way better about posting on this. I'm at Twitter, and that will be at twitter.com/8yo channel, and I will also upload a video to a YouTube feed when I go online, and I will take it down when I'm going offline. Apart from that, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope I see you in the live stream. If not, I will see you in the next video.